All right, guys, with week one of the college football season coming to a close over the next couple of days, let's go ahead and take a look at week two. Go ahead and preview this upcoming week and discuss some of the bigger games of the week. It's not going to be quite the level of week one, but we do got some intriguing games nonetheless. All right, so the big one people are going to be talking about is this first one up here, Texas and Michigan. This is going to be the main game people are discussing as far as top 10, top 25 games. Looks like Texas is favored by 6.5 right now. All right, matchup predictor, 73% in favor of Texas. I think this is going to be a pretty solid game. In particular, it's in Ann Arbor, so that's going to make things interesting no matter what. Now, as far as how these two teams looked in week one, Texas, I thought looked good. They played Colorado State while they're not, a top 25 team or anything. They are a caliber opponent as far as they're at least a group of five school and not a Division two school like a lot of teams beat up on. As for Michigan, they had a formidable opponent as well, Fresno State. Now, Fresno State did play with them. It was a little closer, but Fresno State is probably a top 10 group of five school, I would say. So that's not the easiest game. Now, I was kind of shocked with Michigan. They didn't go with Alex Orji. That's kind of what I thought would happen. Also, Donovan Edwards not being their Russian leader, as you see here, kind of a shocker there. But as of right now, I'm going to lean Texas. Going into the season, Michigan was probably the team I had the most questions on. They could be really good. They could be really bad. Jury's still out on that. Can't really read too much into week one, but I thought Texas looked really good. Offense looked explosive. Defense looked good. They look like a playoff team again. So I'm going to take Michigan. Excuse me. I'm not going to take Michigan. I'm going to take Texas here. I think Michigan is just lacking a little too much from what all they lost last year. So I would say take Texas now 6.5. Can Texas beat them by a touchdown or not? I'm going to say yes, but being in Ann Arbor, it's never easy. So give me Texas, and I'll say more than 6.5. All right, so the next game I want to discuss is Kansas State and Tulane. So Tulane, one of the better group of five schools. Now, they did lose their head coach, Willie Fritz, as well as their quarterback, Michael Pratt. All right, so Willie Fritz went to Houston. They bring in John Summerall from Troy. So this one's going to be fairly interesting. Tulane has been competitive in the past with Power 4 schools, so they've shown they can play with these teams. Kansas State, you've got Avery Johnson at quarterback. If Tulane can get after him and keep up with them offensively and not just turn the ball over, I think Tulane can win this game. Now, Kansas State is favored at 55%, but I think Tulane wins this one, actually. I haven't been too high on Kansas State. Chris Kleiman is a winner, no doubt, but I think Tulane might shock them here. I think it's going to be a close one, but give me Tulane here. I think they can win this one. All right, so moving on to the next one here. Again, not just too many jumping off the page, but Syracuse, Georgia Tech is another one I want to talk about. Just real quick, because Georgia Tech had that upset over Florida State. Syracuse, as you know, has Kyle McCord at quarterback. Looks like Georgia Tech is favored by 2.5. I'm going to take Syracuse here. I know they didn't just shock the world beating Ohio, but I think they're only going to get better. They have a lot of guys that are new to their program, a lot of transfers coming in, new head coach in Fran Brown. So I think Syracuse is going to get better and better each week. This is a good game, though. I think that if you're just looking for a game to watch, I think this is one that's going to be kind of entertaining that's not on everybody's board. So give me Syracuse here, but I think this is a good one. It's going to separate some of the pecking order in the ACC, I think. All right, so the next one we're going to discuss is Iowa and Iowa State. All right, so that's a rivalry game, always going to be close. Iowa looked good last week in week one. Now, it wasn't against the opponent that's worthy of anything, but they won 40-0. I struggled in the first half. But again, with this being a rivalry game, both Iowa teams, it's always going to be close. Iowa favored by 2.5. Iowa State has a lot returning from last year. Rocco Breck, Sama, all right, their leading receiver, leading tight end, all back, as well as a lot of their defense. I think they could win the Big 12 this year. But also, I think Iowa has a sleeper chance at making the college football playoff with the way their schedule plays out. So give me Iowa here. I think they actually won this one, but this is going to be a close game. So I guess if you're betting the spread, take Iowa here. But this is pretty much a coin flip, I think. I think these are both top 25 caliber teams, and this one should be a good one. Being a rivalry, you never know what's going to happen. Things are always pretty interesting. So we're not really going to talk about this game much, but Baylor-Utah is a game to watch. I don't think Baylor upsets Utah, but I think that one could be somewhat interesting. All right, moving right along. We've only got a couple more. Another one, Kansas, Illinois. That's a game to keep an eye on. I think Illinois could upset Kansas, but Tennessee, NC State is the main one we're going to discuss here. If you would have asked me last week, I would have taken NC State. Going into the season, I thought they were going to be – now, they still could be, but I thought they were arguably the favorite in the ACC and everything they had coming in the portal as well as what they had back. They bring in Grayson McCall from NC State, Jordan Waters. All right, that's another one that you bring in from Duke. And I thought, who knows? Can NC State make a run at the ACC? Now, the jury's still out on that, but they did look kind of skeptical in week one. And then you got Tennessee. Tennessee, all right, they beat Chattanooga pretty good this year, last week. Now, Nico is kind of the key for them. If Nico at quarterback can keep this kind of success he had last week going forward, Tennessee could be a playoff team. This one looks like Tennessee is favored by a touchdown. I think this is going to be probably a field goal game. It's going to be tight. Tennessee's probably going to rise up the rankings a little bit. And with how NC State looked, they might drop out a little bit. But Tennessee being 88% favored and picked, that one I don't know about. I think NC State definitely has a shot here, and they're talented enough to play with play with Tennessee. So I think this one's pretty much a coin flip as well. Should be a good game to watch in the nightcap. All right, and the last one, not really anything too crazy as far as impact ranking wise, but Colorado Nebraska is a game to watch because obviously Colorado is Colorado. All right, so they're going to be hyped up by ESPN. Nebraska, is this the year Matt Rule can kind of finally get them over the hump? Now, there is two more I want to discuss. I completely forgot these games were happening, but App State, Clemson. So this one, I think Appalachian State can upset Clemson. This is a game to watch. Clemson looked okay in the first half against Georgia, but that second half really struggled. Now, most teams are going to, but Appalachian State has Joey Aguilar. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game and should be a shootout probably that I think App State can actually keep up with them. Then Boise State, Oregon is the game people are going to be talking about. I don't think Boise State can beat them despite how Oregon looked this week. I still don't think Boise State's good enough to win regardless. Boise State still barely won themselves. So even though Oregon struggled in week one, I don't think Boise State can beat them. But for entertainment's sake, maybe they can. We'll see. But what games did I miss? Who do you think wins these games? Which game are you most excited for? Let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.